Hey everybody, Ryan from Hesed House here. It's day 5, my wife tells me, of living in the shelter to get through this crisis. And I need to walk you through some updates and our greatest needs list right now and whatnot, but I want to first share something because I'm tired and I'm emotional and I'm a lot overwhelmed. I worked the family shelter last night until 3 a.m. and sitting there in the dark, watching homeless children sleep, dozens of homeless children sleep, it hits you. And I think what hit me most is that this moment right now, it's about the most vulnerable. I think every day should be about the most vulnerable, but right now it's our collective attention is focused on the most vulnerable, people who struggle with health issues and housing. And I think this is right now is when we learn who we are as people, who we are as a community, who we are as a country, who we are as a world, because I think ultimately how we treat the most vulnerable is the standard of our humanity. And it's too early to fully tell how we're going to do with all this, but sitting in one of the largest shelters in the country, I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. The amount of support coming in and bleach and toilet paper and milk and bread and prayers and donations and volunteers, it's amazing. People ask me, how can you, with all the horrible things you see in a homeless shelter, how can you believe in the innate goodness of humanity? And I think it's because I'm here that I do, because this place, I don't know what I want to say. I'm lost, but yeah. Let me go through my what I got to tell you. So, a few things. First thing is, I got to kill a rumor. So, Hesed House is not shutting down. Apparently there's some rumors that we're going to shut down because some other shelters in the area have shut down. We're not going to shut down. That's not an option. It's not on the table. Hundreds of the most vulnerable people in our community are counting on us for food, for shelter, for hope, and to get through this scary time, and we're not shutting down, period. So let's just kill that. It's not going to happen. Okay, so moving on from there, what do we got next? Change from yesterday. Reported something wrong yesterday, not because I meant to, but because things are changing so fast that it's really, really hard to keep up and for everything to be accurate day to day. Yesterday was the first day of the lockdown for the state of Illinois, and I reported that we're not taking volunteers anymore, and I need to modify that. So we are going to take some volunteers, but with some restrictions. And the reason for the change is twofold. We just kind of automatically assume that volunteering was automatically shut down by the stay-at-home order, and what we're seeing from other organizations around the state that are similarly sized to us and really count on volunteers that's not the case, which is good because we're struggling to do the math to figure out how the heck we're going to make this work without volunteers. So we're not shutting all volunteerism down. It is pretty substantially modified though. So couple of things to run through. First is, if someone is symptomatic, no, do not come. You're putting people at risk, so please do not come if you're symptomatic. If you are high risk yourself because of age, because of immunocompromisation, if that's a word, because you're immunocompromised, please don't come. We don't want to be putting you at any greater risk, so stay home and stay safe. So if you're not showing symptoms, though, and you're not immunocompromised or in the high-risk area, we are going to work with volunteers, but with some restrictions based on which shelter we have you in. If you watched yesterday's video, you know that we have 3 shelters. So the family shelter, shelter number 1, no volunteers in there. We're going to have food only in there because we got some kids in there, and we got some kids with asthma, and we don't want to put them at risk. So Food only there, no volunteers. Shelter number 2, our low-risk shelter, the one that we're putting in our warehouse. We're going to allow volunteers in there with some precautions. Obviously, we're going to use hand sanitizer and bleach and all that kind of good stuff like that. And then shelter number 3, which is our high-risk population shelter, where we're putting the individuals at Hesed House that are at greatest risk if they contract this. We're going to have volunteers in there, but we're going to restrict it in a kind of interesting way. We're going to restrict where the volunteers are. So we're going to have kind of a volunteer zone, if you will. So if you know our serving line area there's that nice little chain that's right there. And so it's completely chained in on both sides. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have behind that chain in the kitchen is the volunteer zone, and outside is the resident slash staff zone. And we're going to keep it really separate there to try to, again, minimize the amount of contact, and then also the precautions with bleach and hand sanitizer and whatnot. Okay, so that's that. And then following around up, food for churches and other groups that are scheduled to come. If your church or group is scheduled to bring food to Hesed House, and you're not sure about how to do that and whatnot, if you have any questions, here's what you need to do. You need to call this guy. That is Bruce. Bruce is our volunteer guru. He can help you out. Because there's lots of churches and groups doing different things at this time. Some groups are actually just ordering food and having it shipped right to us and avoiding cooking or driving at all. If you want to do that, talk to Bruce. He can coordinate that with you and share some ideas. So that's for the groups. For other groups and individuals that want to help, you got 2 options. So option 1 is our immediate needs list, which I got to tell you is changing by the day, almost by the hour. As of right exact this moment while I'm filming this, what we need is non-perishables and bottled water. That's going to change later. We're going to need some other stuff, but right now that's what we need. If you want to drop it off, we're getting a lot of calls from people saying, hey, how do I drop stuff off? I don't want to come into the building and put anybody at risk or et cetera. We have a big white truck in front of our building. It's an old U-Haul truck that the U-Haul sticker has been peeled off. And we're going to leave the back of it open during the day. So you can just literally pull up to our building at 659 South River Street and dump your stuff in there. And then we will periodically pull it out. That's option 1, is to follow along with our greatest needs list. Option number 2 is to help us prepare for people who have no business cooking. And what I mean by that is like me. I literally have not cooked any food at Hesed House since I think 1999 or 2000. And the last time I did it, I literally made spaghetti out of ketchup and spaghetti noodles. And so they don't let me in the kitchen anymore. But we may not have the luxury of me not being in the kitchen at some point. And so I have to be able to cook. And that's a bad day for a lot of people. So the plan for if we have to have people in the kitchen cooking who just have no business doing so is to prepare for that. And the way we prepare for that is stuff like that. I would have printed it out in color so you could tell what it is, but I couldn't figure out how to make the color printer work because I'm really tired. What that is beef stew. And the idea is that we can buy really big number 10 cans of beef stew, and literally it just takes opening them up with a can opener and then dumping into a pot and warming them up, and everybody gets fed, and everybody, nobody goes to bed hungry, and it's lovely, and we don't have to count on me cooking. And so we can buy number 10 cans of lasagna, or number 10 cans of beef stew, and we can buy big family-style trays of lasagna, like 15 or 20 of those that, again, I can't screw up. And so if you want help in that way, which is honestly probably the number one way you can help right now, the best way to do that is to go to hesedhouse.org. That's only one S in Hesed. And donate there, and that way it allows us the flexibility to get exactly what we need depending on what the changing needs are based on the circumstances, which, as you know, change by the minute. So I'd love to give you a big pep talk at this point. Honestly, I'm kind of tired, so you're not going to get much of a pep talk, but I do want to remind you, as always, that we're going to get through this, and the way we're going to get through this is together, and the way we're going to get through this together is by focusing on the most vulnerable, because that's who matters the most right now. Thank you guys. You guys have been amazing, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.